Welcome to Retraction. I'm Antoine.
I'm Jamie, and we are reversing course through discourse. Before we get started, please, on YouTube, subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment on this video. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay up to date on our latest content. Follow us on Twitter and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and more.
Nice. It's our first New Year's episode. Episode
of the new year.
Episode of the new year. Might as well just say that. Episode of the new year. And Jamie, you're biting at the bit. What do you got going on your side, your neck of the woods?
I have a profile on a Mr. Elon Musk that has been in the pipeline for some time, and it is more timely than ever.
Nice. I look forward to that. And for my side, new article came out. New tool uses AI to predict dogs' health issues before they happen. Did you hear about that?
No.
All right then. But first up, let's do a Elon watch.
All right, folks, buckle up. Who is Elon Musk? Well, let's briefly start at the beginning, which will set the foundation with some facts, and then we'll have some fun and ponder what could be. Elon's paternal great-grandmother was the first chiropractor in Canada, and Elon's paternal grandparents were the first to ever fly from South Africa to Australia in a single-engine airplane. Right? Just give you a little taste of where the family roots are.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize we were going all the way back.
All the way back. It's gonna pick up.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I mean, this is all educational. I've actually didn't know any of this. The only concern I have is that you didn't do Elon's grandfather in a grandpappy voice.
Well, that's what you're here for.
Okay. Elon's grandpappy was the first to fly a single-engine airplane. How's that? Is that good?
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Now, whether or not he would have a Canadian accent or South African,
I can't do Africana. No, I can't do that. Not to say that he might. Yeah, he wasn't Africana, but I'm just saying I can't do that. Yeah, you're challenging me.
Okay, it's a challenging year. Day 3. Okay, so that's his grandparents, right, and his great grandmother. Today, the Musk family includes multiple millionaires between Elon's parents, siblings, and cousins. Kimball Musk, Elon's younger brother, has a reported net worth of $700 million. He founded 3 food companies. Tosca Musk, Elon's younger sister, has a reported net value of $170 million. She runs a streaming service focused on romance novel adaptations. May Musk, Elon's mother, has a reported net value of $20 million. She's a dietitian and a model. And Errol Musk, Elon's father, whose net worth is actually unknown, has been an electromechanical engineer, property developer, city council member, and owned an emerald mine in Zambia, from which he claims to have become very wealthy. Now, Errol claims to have invested in Elon's education and businesses to get him started. However, Elon denies those claims. Elon also says his father is a terrible human being. And he's committed almost every crime you can possibly think of. So I think his direct quote was, almost every crime you can possibly think of, he has done.
There are so many musts that it's late, but I kind of wanted you to do a Papa Smurf or a Smurfette, because it sounds like they're the Smurfs. It sounds like they're very wealthy South African Smurfs. There are just so many of them.
Aren't the Smurfs, where are they from? Are they Dutch?
Dutch, yeah.
Right? They're Dutch.
Yeah.
Well,
look at that. Look at that connection. For those of you who don't know, South Africa was colonized by the Dutch.
There you go. They're just springing up all over the place. So I don't want to get too muddled up in personal affairs, but fun fact, Errol has 2 children with his stepdaughter. Yeah.
A little Woody Allen thing going on there?
Yeah. So I'll just leave that. I'll just let that sit out there.
Okay.
Audience, you can bask in that for a second.
Let it wash over them. Moving on to
Elon Musk. He was born in Pretoria, South Africa, where he was educated in private schools. He then emigrated to Canada and eventually the good old US of A, where he attended the universities UPenn and Wharton. Musk got Silicon Valley internships, sold his company to tech company Compaq, and founded X.com, a company that merged with PayPal. Elon then became CEO of that new PayPal. And when eBay bought PayPal in 2002, Musk made a cool $175 million. In 2017, Musk purchased the X.com domain from eBay for its sentimental value. But in 2022, Musk discussed his goal of creating X, the everything app, when he purchased Twitter. Which brings us to his portfolio. Twitter's a social media company, I think we all know. Some say it's the world's digital town square. Debatable, but it's been said. Twitter seems to be a means to an end for Musk to finally get X, his everything app. It's unclear what X will entail, but if PayPal is any guide, it will have the capability to process payments. Musk owns a lot of other companies. SpaceX is a spacecraft manufacturer, launcher, and satellite comms company that generates $2.5 billion in revenue. Its main competitor is Blue Origin, which has $20 million in revenue, significantly smaller. SpaceX has a contract with NASA for commercial orbital transportation services, but it's clearly just a stepping stone as Elon has shared his grander vision for mining and colonizing the solar system. In fact, at $100,000 per ticket, Musk already has plans to move 1,000 people per spaceship. I think he refers to them as starships. We've covered it before on the pod. 1,000 people per ship to Mars, reaching a total Mars population of 1 million by 2050. When asked how colonists would be selected to go, Musk responded, and I quote, "Needs to be such that everyone can go if they want, with loans available for those that don't have money," end quote. When asked if that means people will be required to pay off or work off those loans, he replied, and I quote, "Yes, there will be a lot of jobs on Mars," unquote. There's the obvious question of what happens if you're also acquiring additional debt from the resources you're using, like food and housing, etc., while you're working to pay off your current ticket debt. You can start to see how you can dig yourself into a hole that you can never get out of, and you'll just be stuck in perpetual servitude. And while you could argue that's exactly how it works on Earth, right? Everyone works the majority of their lives here. The difference is that your debt isn't owed to one person who controls everything. There are some who are concerned with Musk's vision for humans in that it seems like he's expanding out into the void and setting up a slave trade. At the moment,
You say that so casually.
well, I'm just waiting for you to jump right in there, Antoine.
I don't know what else. You just said like he's packing lunch. So some people think that Elon prefers ham sandwiches over the roast beef and turkey, but I, for one, I think he likes the mustard.
The thing is that I didn't uncover anything here. This has been out there. This is out there, and no, I mean, we're on Twitter.
Yeah,
right? I mean, like,
yeah.
It's out there. He's said all this stuff, and
He said a lot of stuff. Absolutely.
yeah,
Cool.
so I am kind of just saying it because it's out there and it's been said, and nobody seems to care too much. That's kind of why I'm pulling it all together in this segment.
Okay. Good. All right.
So at the moment, Musk and any other potential colonists would be bound by the Outer Space Treaty. I actually couldn't believe that's what it was called, but it's called the Outer Space Treaty. And part of this treaty states that, like maritime law applying to international waters, space travelers would be bound to the laws of the country they fly the flag of. In SpaceX's case, that would be the US, as it is an American company. As such, Musk's colony would be subject to US laws on indentured servitude, which was outlawed in 1833. The catch here is that Musk alone will have the capability of reaching Mars in any meaningful way, never mind enforcing those Earth-based laws.
The ultimate loophole, enforcement. I'm surprised that he would tie himself to the United States that way. Is this something that you're saying he himself has agreed to that he will represent the United States when
No,
he.
this is like a global agreement, a global treaty among countries that this is how space will be treated.
Right. Okay.
They will be
Okay.
subject to those laws. And he opened up SpaceX in the US. So it is an American company. It is headquartered here.
But he could declare himself independent once he was in space. Doesn't necessarily.
Sure, if he wants to
What,
move,
start a war?
start. I mean, I don't know where his headquarters would be. What, he put something in orbit and he's like, we're orbiting the planet. Like that's
I mean,
where
he could treat it like credit just because he could just read. He could put his headquarters on the moon. He could just
it's
repurpose it.
enforcement. I mean, that's the thing is like if he tried to do something cute like that, it's a matter of will the US government buy into that and will they be able to stop him anyway?
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Send up a capsule
I don't know if you knew this.
to bump into his ship? Like what?
We have a Space
NASA does
Force.
not have the capabilities that SpaceX has, especially a couple of years from now.
Well, what about our Space Force? What are they doing?
Buying nice uniforms,
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
those Battlestar Galactica uniforms that you pointed out.
I love that.
Yeah.
At least they've got good fashion sense. They may not be, I don't know, pushing the lever forward in terms of.
I mean, don't forget who
space
started it.
warfare.
I'm not arguing that we don't need a Space Force, that a Space Force wouldn't be a good idea, but look at who started it. How much planning and resources and commitment do you think were really put into that?
Whatever you can fashion while taking a dump.
There you go. All right. So still part of SpaceX is Starlink. And Starlink uses satellites to provide internet services. It has over 3,000 satellites in orbit today, with plans for over 12,000 in the next 5 years and eventually 40,000 in a decade or so. OneWeb, its main competitor, hopes to have 648 satellites by the end of 2023. Starlink has so many satellites in orbit that their reflections are now impairing ground-based telescopes from observing space. Next up, Neuralink, a neurotechnology company aimed at integrating.
That's it for Starlink? Got nothing else?
This is all foundation building.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
all foundation building.
Okay.
Right. So now you have Neuralink aiming to integrate the human brain with AI by embedding devices in the brain to control machines and improve healthcare. Recently, Neuralink has released a new telepathic typing video showing a monkey using only its brain to type. The company plans to implant the chip into humans this year with the goal of helping with paralysis, blindness, tinnitus, and according to Elon, perhaps rendering language obsolete. All they need is FDA approval. Enter Synchron, a separate company that is farther along than Neuralink to win regulatory clearance for its devices, and coincidentally, a company that Musk has already approached to purchase. Now, that all being said, Musk has stated that if his kids would suffer an accident, Neuralink's chip is safe enough to help them, which is a contradiction to what neuroscientists are saying. And they're saying that it's decades away from anything like that. But to counter that, Elon said that he would get one. And I cannot help but think when I read that sentence that this is very close to one chip to rule them all.
Interesting.
Now,
I can see that.
Which is a Lord of the Rings reference for any of our listeners that don't get it. And so how does this chip work and why do I say that? Well, the chip works by implanting electrodes into the region of the brain that controls voluntary movement, which then connects to a larger array called the link, which can process, stimulate, and transmit neural signals. It's charged via wireless charging from outside of the head and connects wirelessly to devices that allow the user to control them without traditional touch inputs. This wireless feature is also what sets it apart from any other competitor in this space. Now, for the time being, the neurotransmissions will be a one-way street, right? One-way street. But if the brain starts receiving data from Neuralink, it subsequently directs your body to do things that could give someone control over you. Now, we're going to start seeing some of these companies overlapping and snowball on everything that I just said. OpenAI is a Musk AI research lab. When you think about AI combined with Neuralink and AI's ability to process massive amounts of data 24/7, thinking about how AI found those medical treatments for that super bug that we covered on a previous pod, where it was just crunching millions and millions of lines of code. Musk could be entering the territory of creating that two-way street to control the 37 trillion cells that make up the human body. If he can start using AI to compute all of that data and then to send stuff back to Neuralink, and the Neuralink is telling your body what to do, AI is the type of key I think that's missing for accomplishing that. Now, Tesla, I'm moving on to Tesla now. Tesla is more than what most people think. While other companies like Toyota are developing robots to play sports, Tesla is actually designing a humanoid robot that can download memories, personalities, and eventually consciousness that Musk calls Optimus. Now imagine, via Neuralink, you're uploaded to Starlink and relayed to Optimus for download. And this is the latest attempt, this time by Elon, for humans to find the fountain of youth. And we've talked about this kind of stuff on the pod before. So
altered carbon.
Yeah, right. It's like altered carbon. I mean, and he's doing it throughout his whole portfolio of companies. He's creating all of these supplemental capabilities.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, Elon has described this first generation of Optimus robots as worker droids that will do the work that nobody wants to do. And we've talked about bias in the code before, and I am curious, will that bias be forever inherent in this code and be this systemic flaw that we just never get around to fixing, like so many things in society? And then it kind of meets the moment of when we start uploading ourselves and it's still there.
The answer is yes, of course, because Elon's doing it. So of course it's going to be biased because he's a very biased individual. You race through so much. There's so many movie references that could be applied to this. When you said the one chip to rule them all, I want to go back to that a little bit, even though it's, I'm just cherry picking a little bit, but the idea that anyone else would accept this chip after Elon Musk has implanted it into himself, I think that automatically would tank the company right off the bat. Unless, there are the Muscovites, the people who are, the rah Musk is everything. And I'm sure the other billionaires will maybe they will want to jump in on this. But as a regular human being, a regular person, I think that once Elon is the first owner of the very first chip, it's the exact opposite. It's the unclever Sauron kind of thing, or Saruman, can't remember which one, but it's the unclever version of what happens in the Lord of the Rings. For anyone who doesn't know, in the Lord of the Rings, the bad guy tricks the other leaders into getting these rings and then fashions a ring for himself that in secret that allows him to then control all the other leaders. This is the exact opposite of that, which is why it's almost like, I don't know, it's rulership for dummies, if you will. He should have a secret plan to implant a chip into his own body, not openly go out there and plant a chip into his body first. Who else is going to follow that? I don't want to follow that. No one wants to follow that. But you're thinking of it through the lens that I just kind of proposed it as, positioned it through. A lot of other people, and I think the way that he's thinking about it is that, I'm going to test it on myself. And if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for you. And it's almost like Biden getting the vaccine jab to say, like, hey, guys, it's safe. It's good. Everyone do it. Oh, yeah. How'd that work out?
Well, it was fine. What do you mean? It was
fine. It's fine for him. I'm just saying, how'd that work out for getting other people to then get vaccinated? It didn't really set the bar tremendously high.
Maybe a bad example because the people that were going to get
vaccinated. No, I think it's a good example. It's the point I'm making. If you openly go out there,
that's the point I'm making.
It doesn't mean that other people are going to follow you. It just means they'll look at you as like, oh, wow. Well, I mean, that's interesting. You've done that. I'm not going to do that. But I will also go back to, I'm a little concerned as well with the satellite issue, because when you said the amount of satellites that are currently in the sky, it definitely reminds me of the scene in 300 where, what is it? I forget what the leader, Xerxes, he says to Leonidas, our arrows will blot out the sun. Because they have so many arrows. That's what the Persians were known for in the ancient world. And it makes me feel weird. It's like, is he a supervillain? I think I've addressed this before. Could he ever have enough satellites in the sky that he could actually coordinate them to maybe block out the sun for a portion of of the population in any way, shape, form? Like, can he block out enough sun for Florida, for instance? if they're not giving him the right amount of tax breaks
He'll be clever about it,
to
though.
open.
He'll
Yeah,
he'll do something like a
there'll be an
bat
accident,
signal.
of course.
He'll create a shape like a
Right.
giant M
Yeah.
for Musk, like a
Right.
bat signal that he'll put in the sky, and it'll be like a partial eclipse.
Right.
And he'll say,
Exactly.
look, isn't that cool? Thanks for letting me do that. Oh yeah, I'm not going to remove it until you guys do this.
Yeah, until my legislation gets passed in order to give me the tax breaks to now basically co-opt what's the main launching place, Cape Canaveral.
Yes.
Yeah. Until I get exclusive rights to Cape Canaveral, this M will remain in the sky. Yeah, I feel like that's what we're going to be dealing with here. I mean, it's almost like that people talk about global terrorism. I feel like for the first time, we might actually be seeing someone with enough power in this world to be a global terrorist, to actually say, I'm going to affect the way in which this area of the world gets sun, which has so many ramifications in terms of the geography, there's so many things that could be affected by having less sun than what, especially an area that is supposed to be warm and hot and humid like Florida. I'm just saying, I'm spitballing here. I don't know.
We've talked about that on the pod.
We talked about it a little bit. Yeah.
Countries using weather and climate and things like that to go to war with one another through cloud seeding or whatever it might be, and certainly blotting out the sun.
I don't know.
That would be an issue.
I mean, who knows? Anyway, I'll let you continue. Those are the two things that I had to go back to because I just felt like they were necessary. They needed to be discussed, and now they have.
So we were talking about Optimus, the worker droid robot, at least phase one of that. Now, Musk believes that Optimus will become more important than Tesla's cars. And some describe Optimus as a robot angel, where our brains are merged with AI and wrapped in a mechanical shell. What happens once we shed our bodies and transfer ourselves to Optimus as a final destination and become fully dependent on it? Or maybe it won't stop there. Maybe you will be spread across other objects that you own. Will you also be in your car, in your home? Will you be omnipresent and entombed in your material possessions? Now, as mentioned, Tesla does a lot. It's a robotics company. It's, of course, an automotive company. It delivered 340,000 EVs, eclipsing its competitor NIO from China that delivered 91,000. And Tesla is also a green energy company, which also acquired the second largest provider of solar power in the US, Solar City. So it can power you forever. An entertaining, if not terrifying thought, I want you to hear this, is that when you think about Elon's worker droid vision in conjunction with Elon's plans for Tesla's self-driving taxi, things get weird. Elon wants to create a Tesla network robot taxi service that would make use of both Tesla-owned vehicles and cars with customers willing to let their vehicles be hired out when not in use. If your consciousness is extended to your devices, which are all contracted to work for Elon, that's where things start to get really dark. Will all Musk technology be coded to serve the Techno King, which is Elon's self-appointed title we covered in a previous episode, and in fact, enslave you? This could be a really crazy fork in the road that we're going to be coming up on soon, where the future could be one where we end poverty and end labor, or we could be hooked up to machines that require our brain power and we are milked 24/7. So,
is that a Matrix reference?
It's a few things. It's a Matrix reference. It's kind of how we treat animals today, which is horrific. And every time I see images, I just think, God, what if that was me? Okay. So it's terrible. But this doesn't end with Elon's remit over our minds. The Boring Company is an infrastructure and tunneling company that aims to build a vast underground network to move masses of people and goods at high speeds. Hyperloop is a high-speed transportation company. The Musk Foundation provides energy to disaster areas and supports STEM education. These last three companies seem to naturally complement Tesla's energy, transportation, and AI disciplines to round out Musk's infrastructure capability. To cap it all off, XPRIZE is a foundation focusing on developing carbon capture technology to help colonize Mars and to address climate change on Earth. So to recap, Musk owns manufacturing and operations across 10 organizations in the following industries: transportation, education, communication, infrastructure, artificial intelligence, robotics, energy, terraforming, biotechnology, and he aspires to have banking and mining. In 2002, Musk had $175 million. In 2020, he grew that to $27 billion. A year later, he had $150 billion. The capability of his many, many companies with virtually no competition, combined with his personal wealth, set him apart from his peers. Musk doesn't just own almost everything you would need to run a country. If you look at this through the right lens, he now owns and has access to an enormous amount of data. He's collecting data from Twitter, Neuralink, Tesla, Starlink, and it's all unregulated. He will know you and have the ability to track you, control what you digitally see and hear. Over time, Musk will be able to move not just individual opinion, but collective sentiment to shape culture. The consolidation of capability outside of the public domain seems to be at odds with democracy. In business, it's considered a monopoly, but this level of control by one individual is competing with government, if not society itself. And with that scope of ability, it's important to understand the mindset of the operator. Politically, Musk has endorsed everyone from Hillary Clinton to Andrew Yang to Kanye West to Joe Biden and now Ron DeSantis. Most recently, the GOP oppressed women nationwide, sacked the Capitol, they deny climate change, they deny evolution and science in general, and have ignored systemic racism. After all of this, which happened very, very quickly, at least brought to light all at once, Elon advocated for Republicans to control Congress. So that's the latest we have to go off of with him. Now what's left for someone with the wealth and capability of an empire with no land to call his own? Well, Elon's not shy about it. As he's mentioned before, his future aspirations have included everything from mining the solar system to colonizing it. And when I say colonizing it, I'm not sure he'll be aiding any government. He might become the techno king of a new human civilization that's dependent on his corporate empire to survive. And we've started to see a glimpse of what a techno king reign might look like. Journalists have been banned from Twitter, perhaps foreshadowing how he would treat political dissenters. Twitter workers were given an ultimatum to be extremely hardcore or fired. And those on H-1 visas that require employment to stay in the country were trapped in an abusive work environment or faced deportation, perhaps foreshadowing worker colonists unable to leave Mars and forced to do work under harsh conditions. What makes this even more deranged, but it's pretty typical among demagogues, is that Elon sees himself as some type of savior, saying that he thinks SpaceX, Neuralink, the Boring Company, and Tesla count as philanthropy, which is interesting because they're for-profit companies. But to be fair, philanthropy has only recently come to be associated with wealthy donations. Technically, it's a Greek-derived phrase that means love of humanity, and Musk argues that his companies seek to better humanity. Now, Musk's argument could be deemed antiquated because in the modern world, Merriam-Webster defines philanthropy as goodwill to fellow members of the human race, an act or gift done or made for humanitarian purposes, and an organization distributing or supported by funds set aside for humanitarian purposes. There just seems to be a lot of giving spirit in all of this. But I digress, so let's bring this Elon profile home with a scenario. Imagine being a first-generation immigrant on Mars, living in New Musk. You've paid $100,000 for passage to get there. As an Earther immigrant, your journey in settlement has all the perils of immigrating to a new country and a new frontier, but it is still very different than coming to America and the New World. On Mars, you won't be able to breathe on your own. For second-generation citizens, they'll be born into a world with the GOP's bootstrap mentality for the poor and government support for the rich, ruled by an oligarch that justifies each decision that is his alone to make as being what he thinks is best for humanity. What happens to the residents of New Musk when they become entirely dependent on Musk technology to live? Then Musk hikes up the prices, and the people have no choice but to do it because they literally have nowhere else to go. They have to repay the debt. They can't run away from the colony. there's no air outside of the colony.
Yeah. I
And
mean, you
he
don't,
himself, go ahead.
I would say you don't need such extremes in order to create a kafala system. That's basically what you're talking about here. You're saying that there will be a kafala system on Mars where people pay to leave to find work elsewhere, and then when they get there, they find themselves trapped via the people who have encouraged them to go there, which would be Elon Musk, and basically exploited because they have no way of either returning home or going elsewhere for a different opportunity. That's basically what you're saying. So you're basically saying Elon has codified the kafala system and expanded it into basically the future. So our dystopian future is that much more dystopian because we have old world, basically slavery and kafala attached into this supposed bright future, which is just so depressing that I think this episode needs a trigger warning.
I mean, imagine him hiking.
Your mental health is not at the height of where it needs to be coming off of the New Year's and the holidays. This is not the episode for you. Get some sunlight. What is it? What's that? Sun lamp. Get a good dose of sun lamp before you turn this one on, because this is heavy. Go on.
I mean, I just, it blows my mind to think he could hike up the prices. The residents have to work off that debt because that is exactly what he said that would need to be done. Yeah. That's his answer to that question.
Yeah.
And it is very much like that system, but I can't stress enough the difference of you can't breathe outside of his colony. It is like a penal colony in a sense. Like you can't leave. Like it's not even like I'm going to leave and I'm going to go home poorer than I came. You can't leave. There is nowhere to go. And what's really interesting when you think about the places he wants to take this to, that scenario I just gave is under like, you know, quote unquote, modern, with modern constraints. But what if people lost their mortal bodies entirely, as we were talking about? And then you're trapped within the Musk network of machines to be a worker droid. Maybe they can be a robotaxi. Maybe they can be a humanoid laborer, or maybe both at the same time.
I mean, that's the ultimate trump card. That's the hostage. He's got your immortality hostage. He's promising you immortality, and then he is basically capturing it and imprisoning it within this probably a metallic body if you're lucky. I think most people will end up being a Roomba, something closer to a Roomba for the rest of eternity, cleaning up the floors of Mars. It is again so dystopian, so depressing. That's like, how do you stop this man? How do you break him up? How do you break up a man? That's the other thing. It's not like he's buying. Yes, there's no competition on a grand sense, but when you the problem is our legal system, our legal framework, when we look at monopoly, is looking at is very. It's about the minutia. It's saying, do you have all the movie rights in this one company? Do you like again in the past, Big Steel? Do you have all the rights to produce and to
very industry based?
Steel? Exactly,
it's industry based.
It's one by one, and no one looks at that larger picture of, does he have all the rights to any one thing? No. Does he have a lot of very small things that make him very powerful? Yes. How do you? And then it's like, how do you disseminate that? How do you break that up? It's because he is a country. When you have that many different things, the only thing he's missing is weapons. He just doesn't. I don't think he owns a weapons dealer, right? At this point, I think that's the only thing he's
not
missing.
Yet. No,
not yet. But I'm sure it's coming. First, you get the money.
I mean, that's just one acquisition away.
Exactly. So first you get the money, then you get the missiles, then you declare independence after you've left Earth with flying the American flag. You land on the moon, and then you bring up the Musk flag, and then people are like, hey, what are you doing over there? And he's like, if you want me, you can send your troops over. But we know how that ends. That's how America got founded. We know how difficult that is to be on a small rock of an island and start sending troops into the new world. It doesn't always work out. It's a difficult proposition. It's a very difficult war to fight. How do we send our troops to the moon? I don't know. And even if you got to the moon, he's probably going to be on his way to Mars. And then by the time you get to Mars, he'll have fortified, entrenched, He'll have all his worker robots, his drones. He'll have, I mean, the whole planet will be his. Yeah, how are you going to invade that? You can't. You can't. It's so well played. Good job, Musk. You are not villains for dummies. You are clearly he's clearly got something up his sleeve. He may not be able to run Twitter, but he's got something else up his sleeve. That's for sure.
It's just he has a very impressive portfolio of companies. Now, I know, like Antoine has said a few times, and I want to address the listeners. Some of you may think this is nuts, and that's fair. I'm just having a little bit of fun with, as Antoine put it, a potential dystopian future. But for those of you that are still with us, you might be saying, hey, maybe Musk will share power or allow colonists to have a voice. Maybe, maybe not. For what it's worth, he took out attack ads on Pete Buttigieg, who supports electric vehicles, something that you would think Musk would be happy about. But since Pete also supports unions, which gave people a voice, and Elon is ardently anti-union, to quote Michael Jordan, Elon took that personally. This is in addition to banning journalists, in addition to giving workers a ridiculous ultimatum. It seems to be part of Elon's extremely hardcore way or the highway mentality. There's no compromise. And all of that controlling, uncompromising, I don't know, man. That type of techno king just does not seem compatible with democracy.
There's a lot that's not compatible with democracy. I'm just going to put that out there.
That's fair.
Capitalism isn't necessarily compatible with democracy, but this is definitely a step beyond. That's even more worrying. Is that right now you have the battle between what is the future of our society? Is it a capitalist society? Do we give way to more socialist leadings or inroads in order to support those of us who have fallen out of, falling out off the racetrack?
I mean, not to interrupt you, because I agree with where you're
Go
going, but
it.
not, I mean, I'll even say fund the ones we already have.
Yeah,
like the frustration I have is that we do have socialist programs here.
A lot of socialist programs.
A lot of them.
Yeah, for the rich.
And we don't fund them properly. So then you say government can't do it well, but then, it's like this whole weird thing. So
yeah, there's that.
I mean, like, I hear you.
But like, not to get bogged down into that. I'm just saying that here we are playing checkers, and this guy's playing 4D chess. That's the worry. I think that's the fun / horrible aspect of doing this thought experiment, is that now feels so it feels so small ball. It feels so antiquated that we're fighting these old battles when somebody is literally trying to take space away from us. It is the last frontier. It is our freedom. If this planet goes south, which it will, the only way to ensure the survival of humanity, and this is just a fact, whether people want to believe it or not, this isn't as fanciful. Many physicists, any scientists will tell you the most probable way to ensure the survival of the human race is to colonize. How we go about it, no one knows. There's so many questions about it. But if you have one man who essentially sequesters us to dying on this rock, while he goes off and creates an entire civilization in his own name, I mean, that is one for the history books. Not our history books, because we'll be dead and gone. But the history books of the children of Mars, they'll get to read about the great hero Elon and his great expedition to flee the horribleness of this society that was called Earth and all its miscreants and these denizens, and we'll basically be demonized because to the victor goes the spoils. I mean, we'll
be just mythologized. Like we won't be like the sea people. We'll be like.
No, it won't even be like that, because he won't let that happen. It'll be like the way that we talk about, I don't know, Africa. It'll be disparaging. They were lost. They were silly. They didn't know what they were doing. It's gonna be horrible. It's a complete dismissal of our entire history as a culture. There's no way that he's going to mythologize it into some sort of Atlantis, that it was this great civilization that just.
Oh no, I definitely thought he was going to do a cautionary tale and say that he alone saved us.
No,
it's going to be more. It was us who brought the flood, and he built the ark.
No, it's gonna be more brutal. He's basically gonna paint us as if we lived in our own feces and wallowed in absolute ignorance. He's gonna talk about how he tried to show them the light by engaging in this free speech debate, bought the biggest communication software available at the time, and they basically shouted him down from the mountains because they didn't understand his genius. It's gonna be things like that. So
That's fair.
yeah,
That's fair.
yeah. Let's not pretend here. There will be no great swan song for the population of Earth. It will just be a forgotten mismatch of disparagings, so to speak.
And I will be the first to admit there was a lot in there that was creative thinking. But I think it's worth pulling all these companies together in one view and asking, what does he plan to do and what could he do with these? And that's kind of what I tried to do in a way that would hopefully capture some attention.
I mean, I think it was well done. I mean, not just because I'm your co-host, but because I just think, I mean, look, I think that it really captured a lot of possibility that no one is really talking about, because again, the way our news cycles is in the minutia. It's in the, what did he say about X person on Twitter, and how is, who is he firing on Twitter, and how are the Twitter employees how are they faring? What are they talking about? It gets very small. Everything gets bogged down. And if it's talking about Tesla, it's talking about the cars, electric, it's all in pieces. Nothing is doing a big profile to say, hey, what do we as a society feel about single ownership of so many different aspects of our society by an entity, by one ultimate company? How does that feel? Like, how do we feel about that? Is that something that should be allowed? And here's the thing, I don't even know how you stop it. I'm sure there are some laws. I'm sure if we hopefully some historian or someone will hit us up on Twitter to give us an example of something in the early 19th century, or something about breaking up something that was similar to this. But I don't know if there was anything ever similar to this, because we just haven't. This is a completely new era. It's just new.
The capabilities that.
Yeah, it's just there's never.
I mean, you're not talking about an empire in the past that accumulated a lot of slave labor to go do something like that, or like he is able to create and extract from you what he needs. Like the capability of his companies to build what they need, to source what they need. Like if this guy starts mining asteroids, I mean, what else is left? Like he's not tethered here anymore. He's not tethered to anything.
No, like once laws.
Because once he doesn't need to rely on anything.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like, even if he doesn't do it, even if his companies aren't the best, which right now, as I pointed out, they're kind of at the top of their game in most of the industries that he's operating in. But even if they weren't, he just needs to do it. He doesn't need to be the best or most profitable. He just needs to be able to be self-sufficient, a closed network, and he can do whatever he wants. And no one has ever done it on this type of scale. Like I said, it's only countries, governments, society. But has the stuff that society is going to depend on. Like he is society in a sense. At least that's how he's positioning himself. Right. He has the electric cars. He has the brain chips. He has the robots.
I mean, look, I get it's begging to think not just outside the box, but to just completely radically shift the way in which we envision what corporations are allowed to do and how and where they are in terms of our world today. I mean, in my head, and this might be a complete tangent. I hope it's not, but I keep thinking of this like Ender's Game. Have you ever read that book? Because I don't watch the movie. Read the book. You ever read Ender's?
I did read the book, actually. I did.
Oh, cool. All right. So yes.
I had to think about that. I didn't read the whole series.
Don't worry about it's the first book is what I'm going to reference here, which is called Ender's Game. And this is a scene that's not a spoiler. So if anyone wants to go out there, if they're tantalized by any of the comments I make regarding this book, I definitely implore you to go out and read it, because it's a fantastic read. The first book. There's a point in the so basically, there's these kids who are being drafted to do military activities. Let's just call it that without spoiling anything. And there's this one military exercise that's this big game. that they basically are jettisoned into a floatless environment as two separate teams, and they come in from two separate doors. And initially, when they enter the environment, they're looking up at one another, and that's the big thing. It's like, how do you fight effectively, being weightless and flying at speed towards your enemy? Because you're going up. And this is a thing in the book, but it's cool. So maybe I am spoiling something that's a cool part of the book. It's not everything about the book, but what Ender does, because he's special, is that instead of coming out the door and thinking, oh man, how do I fight these guys by going up at them? He basically reorients his like thought process on the whole event and says that instead of their being up, they're actually down. And so he basically asks his team to put their legs down and fight them as if they're falling towards them, which is, there's another part to it, but it becomes far easier to do it that way. And basically, he picks apart this 100-year war game that people have been playing this one way for, again, like hundreds of years. He picks it apart in one evening by just simply orienting himself to say, they're not up, they're down. And that's how I feel like Elon is doing right now. That was a long way of going into what I feel is happening to us right now. We're all thinking about this as going up, and Elon is just saying, it's not up, it's down. Now, there's a lot of people who are saying he's an idiot and he's just this glorified child, which could be true. And he's not very good at whatever it is he's supposed to be doing. But here's the sad fact about it. This idiot has so much money that he is able to acquire everything that he seems to need in order to make his dreams come true.
He can hire smart people.
Yeah, well, that's what he does.
Don't need to be, I mean, in this economy, you don't need to be smart to be successful.
Yeah, well, it's not a meritocracy, people. It's not how it works here. You don't have to be brilliant. Anyway, so he's facing down. He's fighting down. We're still fighting up. And that's what it is. It's about understanding the new rules of engagement when your enemy or what have you. I'm not calling Elon Musk an enemy. I'm saying it from the Ender's Game reference. But yeah, to reorient yourself to play the new game. That's basically what we're in right now. Is this new game, and it's like, are we ready to accept that it is a new game, and what are we bringing to the table in order to compete? And that's what's going to be very interesting.
I mean, we've kind of said this before, and we've probably said it in a few different ways in other episodes. The stuff he's doing is cool. The stuff he's doing is exciting. It's just that not one person shouldn't own all that stuff. It's very dangerous. It's very toxic. It leaves all of us very vulnerable. And the precedent setting for, even if he was this great person, well, he's got to hand over the reins to someone. Yeah. And not everyone is going to be a great person. So it's just a very bad setup construct that
we've also seen this play out. Yeah, you could enter a period of emperors. Some may be good, I guess, because they've written themselves to be so.
Yeah, as good as they can, as good as an emperor.
All emperors are bad. All right, let's just dispel with that. There's different parts of history where some people are like, well, Napoleon was amazing. No, all emperors are bad. Okay, all emperors are bad. Any person that wants all power, absolute power, is a bad person. There's no good people who share power. They don't. Yeah, what's that saying? They don't. Something about sharing power. Once you have everything, basically, you don't share power. That's the crux of the saying. So that's how I'm viewing this. There are no good people who want absolute power. Absolute power corrupts. Oh, that's it. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. There it is. There it is.
So that's my topic.
That's a good topic. That's a really good topic.
All right, Antoine, what do you got now?
All right. So this is an article from Now This News. It says, new tool uses AI to predict dogs' health issues before they happen. How cool is that?
I'm just going to say, I mean, dogs and every other animal, every time I've taken an animal or pet to the vet, I just always feel incredibly bad because you only know that something's wrong when it's whimpering or limping or having horrible physical symptoms. And you're just like, man, little dude, I wish you could have just told me sooner. I don't know. So yeah, tell me more about how this can help dogs. And I assume it would be extended to other animals.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're gonna go with dogs.
Dog
for now.
only?
But also, I mean, it's sort of like, I mean, if even people, I mean, no one would get hit with stage 4 anything if people also went in for regular checkups and could tell something was wrong. So I'm saying it's not just dogs, people too.
There are some things that could hit you that there are no symptoms of, though, like a blood clot or something, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, maybe this could move on. I think that the reason this is big is because maybe it could be used for people as well. But I'll get into it. I'll get into it. You comment after I get into it. So
All right,
so
you get
start
into
off. The average dog parent spends more than $22,000 in veterinary bills over the lifetime of a 15-year-old dog. And that's according to claims data expanded by the pet insurance company Fetch by the Dodo. In 2022, a Forbes advisory survey found that more than 2 in 5 pet parents said they would go into debt if confronted with an unexpected medical bill for their dog or cat.
That 22,000 number doesn't surprise me at all. I've taken my animal in before, and it was thousands for X-rays or whatever. It's hard, man, because they're living beings, and you want to do what's right, but it can also just be outside of your reach. So that's really hard. It's a tough situation.
Yeah. So to help pet parents care for their beloved dogs without breaking the bank in the process, Fetch by the Dodo Pet Insurance just launched a first of its kind pet health prediction tool that helps dog parents predict the illness and accidents their pup is prone to, with key insights that can help them take preventative measures at an earlier stage.
Now, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Usually pet insurance, you can only get it when the animal is young, right?
No, you could get pet insurance anytime. It's just that they will not cover pre-existing conditions. So it's basically pet insurance is the way our insurance used to be prior to Obama.
Yeah, but with animals, yeah. Generally, if you didn't get it in the beginning, you'd be getting it because you're going to the vet and something has been wrong, and that's going to be the condition.
That won't get covered. Yeah,
and that's going to be the condition that's going to get you.
Yeah.
So, all right, then that's fine. You can get it at any time. So, how does this work now with the AI stuff? Like, do you have to get it early? Does it need to collect data from birth, or can it just jump right in when the dog is like halfway or so through his life? How is it? Yeah, get into it. How is it doing?
Well, they didn't really get that far. I don't know.
It's more conceptual.
I don't know when you can get it. It's more of a concept.
It's more of a survey that you take. You kind of ask the dog how it's feeling.
Well, so here's what I can say about it. The program was built using AI.
Was this coded in Florida?
It was the
another
same
AI thing out of Florida.
It was the same Google Voice sentient AI that came up with this. That's where it came over from. The program was built using AI, machine learning, and a team of veterinary professionals. Fetch says it has taken 16 years of clinical health findings and 150 plus million data points from over 725,000 dogs, including 500 plus breeds, to be able to accurately predict future illness, injuries, and accidents. That's how they're implementing it.
Accidents?
Yeah. Well, some dogs are prone to like I have a Frenchie, and French bulldogs are prone to pulling muscles, especially if they've been playing with like bigger dogs. So things like that. I imagine that's what they mean by accidents.
Oh, not like an accident.
Like an accident, like they pee too much or they pooped in
your
house.
Or like falling down the stairs or something.
Well, yeah, I think that some dogs are prone to, like, let's say if they have a degenerative eyesight, something like that is prone to the breed. That could be something that they might be talking about.
But so, all right, you have all this data points, and it's almost like a lookalike model where it's like, all right, this type of dog, the hundreds of thousands of dogs, I don't know how many things, but whatever it was, they created this data set.
Yeah.
All of these, there's this data set, all these dogs ended like this. Yeah. And here's all the commonalities between those dogs that ended like this.
Right.
Now, your dog is trending to show similar instances of all those commonalities.
Yep.
So here's the likelihood that it's going to end like this. That's what we're thinking.
That's basically what we're talking about here. Yeah. That's the
So you
predictive
still
nature of it.
need your dog. This is terrible. You still need your dog to get hurt. It's not like it's measuring the chemicals in the body and it's
Right.
monitoring your vitals. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, wow, your blood pressure's up. Or
No,
it's
no,
not that. It's not
no.
like you're wearing a
Well,
device and
well, I
it's
guess.
monitoring you. It's you have to take it into the vet.
Yeah.
And then when
Yes.
all of these things start happening, but then I'm like, the vet doesn't know that? Like the vet? I
Well,
mean,
no. No, well, I mean, like, think about it. Does every doctor know what's going to happen to any individual person? I think that's why they're basically saying that they're the kind of the first to do this kind of forecast, the first to get this kind of data, model it, and then give you these predictive measurements in order to help. This is probably there to help veterinarians better understand what may or may not occur with certain types of breeds, certain types of dogs, that the weight of its particular breed, and that's what it is.
that's what I'm getting at is I feel, and again,
You
correct me if
think
I'm
that
wrong. I
is
feel
this
like
something
what
to be
it's
studied in veterinarian school? Is that what you're trying to say?
no, because I feel like the vets would know this because your doctor does know stuff like this. Like if you were prone now, if you broke your hip,
Yeah.
and now they're gonna say like, careful those stairs, like you
Right.
can't do stuff like this anymore.
Yeah.
Like they would know that, and true with animals, especially dogs. There's so many breeds and all these different nuances to each one, like you had mentioned with yours and the pulled muscles.
Yeah.
So what I feel like this is doing is cutting out a lot of the referencing. Like the doctor now no longer has to go back to their office, check over their notes, reference if they don't remember it off the top of their head and come
Yeah.
back.
No,
Like
you're
this
right.
is kind of crunching it for them.
Well, it's like the future. Yeah. It's like instead of going back and getting your abacus in order to do complex mathematics, you just type it into a calculator and it spits out the number that you're looking for. It's basically that kind of vein. That's what we're talking about here. Yeah.
But that's kind of what my question is. Is this doing anything that a vet shouldn't or isn't doing today? I think it's making their lives easier, and there may be more, right? Maybe it's just like the sheer wealth of knowledge. The data set is so
Yeah.
big. If a vet has only ever treated 50 different types of dogs, but there's X amount of dogs out there, then and maybe they're all like in another region, but someone got an exotic pet. Now they have this. Maybe you never saw a little lemur before, but someone brings a lemur in, and now all of a sudden, you punch it into this AI thing and they spit out the thing. So yeah, I could see how
something like that. Yeah.
how it would almost make a generalist a specialist in a sense.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. That's exactly what they're doing. In fact, you should contact them. Say that should be part of your slogan if you really want to sell this. I mean, it's a little similar. It's not similar, actually. It's a little different, but I guess it's in the vein of if you're questioning, don't we do that gene analysis in order to basically like there's that specific test to say, are you predisposed? Like, are you going to get like breast cancer? Remember, like, isn't there, what I'm talking about?
Well, there's the likelihoods, right? If you're carrying a gene and you're
yes, that's what I'm saying. That's
all that
looking
kind
for
of
a
stuff,
specific gene, right? So it's the same. A doctor is not going to be able to look at you and say, look at your history and say you're what is the likelihood that this may happen to you? But if you run this test and you have this isolated gene that has this, what is it? Pre-exposure. What's the word I'm looking for? Predisposition to getting a certain type of illness. So it's similar to that. I think that's what you're looking at here. You have the generalist who understands medicine from from an animal perspective, and then you have this massive amount of data provided by this particular pet insurance. I wonder how that connection works. I guess you're probably more incentivized to have them as someone you work with in order to get access to this data.
Well, you know what I was going to ask next, because anything with humans, one of the first questions you should always ask yourself is it FDA approved when you're thinking about ingesting or using a product? And I assume there's a similar regulatory body for pets or animals, and
that
you would want to know that this has been reviewed and approved by them.
I do not know that either. I don't know if that exists. I
don't know.
Somebody. Maybe there is. I don't know.
I'm sure the press release didn't mention it, but
it literally, I mean, it doesn't talk. You literally could go to the site, and the first thing that it shows you is a form to fill out, and it asks you, now you can predict and protect your dog's future health. It says peek into the future of your dog's health with the pet health forecast from Fetch. Just fill in your dog's breed, age, and location, and you'll get a personalized 3-page profile that combines veterinary care, AI, clinical doggy data, to identify the health condition your pup is most likely to experience throughout its life. The information, along with expert recommendation, will help predict and protect your dog's future health. That's what it says. Doesn't say anything about.
Have you done it?
No, I'm not going to do this.
You're not going to do it.
No, I
This is not this. Forget the FDA. Antoine doesn't approve it.
I know it's not that I don't approve of it. I mean, I just have a purebred dog. So I mean, it's if your dog is of a certain breed, there's enough data already that you would know what the likely trouble that dog will have and how long it's most likely going to live. So, but I imagine that this might be better.
But now it's something happens because you don't need AI to tell you, this is the type of dog you have. It's going to have sinus issues and its eyes are going to be bulging outside its head for the rest of its life.
Not my dog, but yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know dogs, but I know that I've seen a dog before and I was like, oh my God, that looks painful. And they're like, no, that's pretty normal. And I'm like,
yeah, that could be
probably
true. Yeah.
So there's that, but you could read that in a book. You can Google that. You can Google to see what your breed is likely to experience throughout its lifetime. And I'm sure that's one of the pages in this report because it's easy for them to do. But what you want is personalized to your pup. And so you need someone to have hands on your pup. And so what is it that the doctor runs a test and submits it to this company to get your dog's readout?
They may request, you may have to sign, one of those waivers that allows them access to your dog's medical history, and then they'll incorporate it. They'll probably,
Jesus,
but it's not for. I mean, HIPAA for dogs.
HIPAA?
Yeah, it's a doggy HIPAA. I don't know how that works. It's a doggy HIPAA. That's what we're talking about here. Yeah.
Or do you take them to a lab to get blood drawn? Like, I don't know how that works.
It's not saying that. It says that they what is it? It says it combines veterinary care.
Tool. It's like, we can do this tool for you. Thanks for signing up. Now you just have to run the string of tests. Good news, it's covered by our insurance. That'll be a copay, please.
Well, look, if my dog had an email address, I would let my dog fill this out and see for itself. But because it's requiring my personal information, that's where I'm like, I don't need it. I kind of know what's going to happen here. I'm all right. If something freak were to occur, such as some sort of onset illness that is not normally covered within that breed, that's just something you deal with. But I also have pet insurance, so I mean, I'm not sure what most pet owners choose to do, but that was one of the big things that we did as soon as I did get a pet, was to get them insurance, because I know that what do you call it? Preconditions? I just said it earlier. A condition that you have before you got your pet insurance is not covered. Thank you. Pre-existing condition. Thank you. That's not covered.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, you could get X-rays and that can run you like I said, like thousands of dollars. And that's a tough decision to make. So this is good. I need to know more about it. Like, what about this makes it personal to your pup, and how do they get that information? And just, being someone who enjoys looking at the data, I'd be curious to know more about it. But that's interesting. I mean, the thing is that even if it's not like the big wow that we're all hoping it is, it's a step in the right direction. To be able to predict or better evaluate your animal's health before it becomes gravely ill. Not everyone takes it to the vet all the time. It just doesn't happen. So if there's any way that you're able to track key events and compare them to a lookalike model to help understand what may be down the road for you and what options you have to mitigate a potentially bad outcome, I think that that's going to be welcomed by any pet owner. Yeah,
well said. Exactly what I'm thinking for other pet owners out there.
For anyone else but you. I ain't no sucker.
I didn't say that. I may have intimated it, but I didn't say it. So, Jamie, on that, where can they find us?
Listeners, if you like the pod, please, on YouTube, subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment on this video. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay up to date on our latest content. Follow us on Twitter @Retraction Media, and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and more.
And with that, Retraction out.